Every tyrant in history whispered the same three words before seizing power. For your safety. Every lockdown, every surveillance law, every censored voice started with those exact words. From ancient Rome to the Patriot Act, from COVID mandates to digital ID, the playbook never changes. They manufacture the fear. They offer the solution. You pay the price with your freedom. Safety is the cage. Today, we trace this pattern across centuries and continents. And by the end, you will never hear the word safety the same way again. Long before modern governments existed, this formula was already perfected. Ancient Rome, the most powerful civilization in history, did not fall to barbarians. It fell to its own leaders who weaponized safety. Rome died from the inside, not the outside. When the Republic faced threats, the Senate would appoint a dictator with absolute power. Temporary, they promised, for the safety of the people. Cincinnatus did it honorably and returned power within 16 days. But then came Sulla, then Caesar, then Augustus. Each one took emergency powers in the name of protection and never gave them back. The Republic died, not from invasion, but from men who claimed to save it. Augustus did not call himself emperor. He called himself the first citizen. He said he was merely protecting Roman values and traditions. Sound familiar? The great Roman historian Tacitus saw this pattern with brutal clarity. The more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws. More laws, more safety measures, more control. This was the formula 2,000 years ago. Emergency powers never expire, and it has not changed one bit since. But Rome was just the beginning, because the true engine behind every tyranny is not power itself, it is fear. Here is the dirty secret every power structure understands. Fear is the most valuable currency on earth, more valuable than gold, more valuable than oil, because a frightened population does not think, it obeys. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Franklin said this in 1755, nearly 300 years ago, and we still have not learned. Every evening your television tells you what to fear next. Terrorism, pandemics, misinformation, climate collapse. The threats may be real, but the response is always identical. More surveillance, more control, less freedom for your safety. Scared people never question. Study after study in behavioral psychology confirms this. When humans are afraid, the prefrontal cortex, our rational thinking center, literally shuts down. We stop analyzing. We start obeying. Obedience. The media does not just report fear. It manufactures fear. Because scared citizens do not question new laws, they beg for them. And once a population has been trained to trade freedom for comfort, you do not even need the fear anymore. The habit does the work. Fear is the oldest tool of control in human history. And nothing proved this formula better than what happened on September 11th, 2001. September 11th was a genuine tragedy. Nearly 3,000 innocent people lost their lives. But what happened after was a masterclass in turning national grief into permanent power. Within 45 days, Congress passed the USA Patriot Act, a 342-page document that most legislators openly admitted they never read. They voted on a law they never read because they were told it would keep you safe. Overnight, the government gained the power to search your home without telling you, monitor your phone calls, access your financial records, and detain citizens without trial, all in the name of national safety. If this revelation is hitting you the way it should, hit like and subscribe to keep exposing what they hide, because what comes next connects all the dots. Temporary always becomes permanent. The authorization for use of military force gave the president power to wage war anywhere, against anyone deemed a threat, with no congressional approval required. James Madison warned us about exactly this scenario. If tyranny and oppression come to this land, it will be in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. 20 years of endless wars followed, trillions of dollars spent, and those temporary emergency powers from 2001. Most of them are still active today, but the surveillance machine went far deeper than anyone could have imagined. In 2013, A 29-year-old NSA contractor named Edward Snowden revealed what the government had been doing behind closed doors. Project Prism was collecting data from every major tech company on the planet. Your emails, your search history, your phone calls, your photos, every digital footprint you ever left, stored in massive data centers operated by the very government that swore to protect your rights. Your data, their weapon. And here is the part that should terrify you. The legal justification for all of it was Section 215 of the Patriot Act. The same law rushed through Congress in a haze of fear after 9/11. Arguing that you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. The surveillance built for terrorists was turned on ordinary citizens. Every government in history that has gained the power to watch its people has eventually used that power against them. No exceptions, not one. They said they were watching the terrorists, but they were watching all of us. And if you think surveillance was the only tool in their arsenal, wait until you hear what happened when a virus crossed the globe. In early 2020, the world faced a genuine health crisis. COVID-19 was real and people died. But what followed was the largest expansion of government power in modern peacetime history. Emergency powers were declared in over 100 countries simultaneously. Businesses shuttered overnight. Churches closed while liquor stores stayed open. Citizens were fined for walking in parks. Drones monitored people sitting in their own backyards. In Australia, you needed government permission to leave your own home. In Canada, bank accounts were frozen for supporting a peaceful truckers' protest. Rahm Emanuel, former White House Chief of Staff, once said the quiet part out loud. You never let a serious crisis go to waste. Safety justified everything, and anyone who questioned the measures was not called wrong. They were called dangerous. As C.S. Lewis warned decades earlier, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. The cruelest control always comes wrapped in compassion. Because when the tyrant genuinely believes he is helping you, he cannot stop. His conscience will not let him. Permanent. And just like Rome, just like the Patriot Act, the emergency outlasted the emergency. But the safety machine was only getting started. Because the next frontier of control is not physical, it is digital. What if the government did not need police or soldiers to control you? What if they could do it all with an app on your phone? China's social credit system monitors every single citizen. Cross the street at the wrong time and your score drops. Criticize the government online and suddenly you cannot buy a train ticket. It sounds dystopian because it is dystopian. But here is the uncomfortable part that nobody wants to admit. Versions of this system are already spreading across the Western world. Digital ID in Europe. Vaccine passports as conditions for accessing basic freedoms. Central bank digital currencies that can be programmed to control what you buy, where you spend, and when your money expires. Programmable money means programmable people. Every single one of these systems is sold to the public exactly the same way. For your safety, to prevent fraud, to stop criminals, to protect you. Convenience is the bait. They make it easy. They make it convenient. They make opting out nearly impossible. And one day you wake up and realize the cage was built while you were scrolling through your feed. As the great German poet and thinker Goethe understood, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. But the digital cage is not just about controlling your money and movement. It is about controlling what you are allowed to say. Freedom of speech was once considered sacred, the very First Amendment to the American Constitution, the cornerstone of every functioning democracy on Earth. Now it is treated like a threat to public safety. They call it misinformation, but what they really mean is dissent. Governments around the world have created misinformation agencies, digital safety boards, and online harm regulators, all designed to decide what you are allowed to say and what you are allowed to think. And pay attention to the language they always use. Online safety, harmful content, dangerous speech, always safety, always protection. George Orwell saw this coming over 70 years ago. If liberty means anything at all, It means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. In the European Union, the Digital Services Act gives unelected bureaucrats the power to remove any content they deem harmful. In the United Kingdom, citizens have been arrested for social media posts. Not threats, not incitement, posts. When they control what you can say, they control what you can think. Silence is not safety. The playbook is identical every single time. Start with the most obviously harmful speech. Child exploitation, terrorist recruitment. Nobody argues against removing that. Then slowly, quietly, expand the definition of harmful until criticism of the government fits neatly inside it. Censorship, but someone is always profiting from this system. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. Follow the money. It never lies. The global security industry is worth over $700 billion every single year. Every terror threat, every pandemic scare, every cyber attack warning translates directly into contracts and enormous profits. 1. Defense contractors write policy papers on threats. 2. Media amplifies the fear to the public. 3. Politicians pass sweeping new security laws. 4. The same contractors win the billion-dollar contracts. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a documented business model hiding in plain sight. After 9/11, private security spending in the United States increased by over 300%. Companies like Palantir, built specifically to process surveillance data, became worth tens of billions. Fear became the single most profitable commodity on Earth. Fear equals profit. And here is the terrifying logic. The people making billions from your fear have absolutely zero incentive to make you feel safe. A safe population does not need a security industry. Peace is bad for the business of war. President Eisenhower himself, a decorated 5-star general, warned the entire nation in his farewell address. In the councils of government, we must guard against the unwarranted influence of the military-industrial complex. He saw it coming over 60 years ago. But the saddest part of this entire story is not the tyrants or the profiteers. It is us. Here is the most uncomfortable truth of all. Nobody forces most of this on us. We do it to ourselves. Complicity. We hand over our most intimate data for free apps. We accept surveillance cameras on every street corner without a word of protest. We let algorithms decide what we read, what we watch, what we believe, and who we trust. All voluntarily, because it is convenient, because it feels safe. The chains that bind the willing are invisible because they feel like comfort. Psychologists call it normalcy bias, the deeply human tendency to believe that because things have always been a certain way, they will always continue to be that way. Germans in 1933 thought the emergency powers were temporary. Russians in 1917 thought the revolution would bring freedom and equality. They were wrong. The great media critic Noam Chomsky captured this mechanism precisely. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. Comfort breeds complicity. Give people the illusion of choice, and they will never question the cage they live in. Every generation must fight for its freedom, or watch it disappear. The question is no longer whether this pattern exists. You have seen it. From Rome to the NSA, from lockdowns to digital currencies. The real question is what you choose to do now that your eyes are finally open. So where does all of this leave us? Not hopeless, aware. And awareness is the first real weapon against tyranny. The pattern only works when people cannot see it. Now you see it. Question everything, trust nothing. Every time a new law is proposed for your safety, ask yourself 3 simple questions. What freedom am I giving up? Is this truly temporary, or will it become permanent? And most importantly, who benefits? 1. Question every emergency power. 2. Demand sunset clauses on every law. 3. Protect encryption and privacy tools. 4. Support independent journalism. 5. Never trade permanent freedom for temporary safety. History proves that the nations which preserved their freedom were the ones where citizens refused to stay silent, where they questioned authority relentlessly, where they pushed back, not with violence, but with vigilance. As Thomas Jefferson understood centuries ago, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Safety without liberty is just a comfortable prison. If you made it this far, common safety is the cage to prove you see the pattern now. Every government lies. The question is, what are they lying about?